What's the dumbest thing you've seen someone do at a store? Worked at a pet store and watched a guy try and shove a huge aquarium filter in his hoodie. Then he had the balls to approach the counter with this protruding abnormally from his belly and tried to buy something. I laughed and told him to return or I'd call the cops. He looked shook up, waddled back to the aisle and put it on the shelf. Told him on the way out to never return. Another one from the pet store was back when Finding Nemo came out. A guy called in about getting a clownfish. So we explained the requirements of setting up a saltwater tank. The guy says, "Aw, that's way too much work, can't I just paint a goldfish?" We all had a good laugh about that one. The woman who was arguing with me, I was working in the produce department of a grocery store, about how she didn't like how one side of the watermelon was flatter, paler, and a little dirty. I said, "That's just how they get when they are on the ground." "What do you mean, when they are on the ground?" She thought watermelons grew on trees. I watched a toddler drink nail polish. His mom didn't do anything besides take the bottle and do the weird violent angry whisper thing. A guy stopped mid-cycle in the revolving door to pick up something. He dropped on the floor and got whacked hard in the rear when another customer entered. At a previous hotel where I worked, the number of parents who let their small children play with the automatic revolving door was alarming. They would play the game of hitting the automatic button and sticking their little arms in the path to see how close they could yank their arms out before the door squashed their fingers' arms. This is shortly followed by parental indignation that either we let their children play with dangerous machinery or indignation that we would tell the children to stop. My husband used to work at a store that sold CDs and other various electronics type items. He had a mom and her kid come in one day. Mom goes off to look at shit and the kid wanders over to the CDs. He stuffs about 10 CD cases in his armpit and tucks his arm tight to his side. When they go to leave, Hobbs reaches out to shake the kid's hand. He doesn't want to and the mom is like, "Don't be rude." Shake his hand. All the CDs fall out and Hobbs scoops them up. The mom took her kid outside and blistered his ears for him, at the loudest possible volume. Kid was so dumb, he kind of deserved it. My girlfriend works at a reptile store. There are signs plastered on every surface that clearly say, "Do not open any cages, ask a representative if you want to see an animal." Well, these two girls strolled in and just decided they were going to open up the tank of a Burmese python, which is a massive snake that if hungry would probably not hesitate to attempt to feast on a hand. Luckily a couple employees saw and flipped out on them. To this day I do not know what made those girls think they had any business reaching into a giant snake's tank. Store isn't quite right, but I used to work at a hotel that was dog friendly. One night someone came to the lobby, grabbed a newspaper, and then grabbed a cookie from the ceramic jar labeled "Woof" directly above the dog bowl. He bit into it before I could stop him, and his embarrassment quickly switched to rage when he realized his mistake and that I had seen it. He, without exaggeration, screamed full volume for a minimum of 15 minutes about how awful it is on our part to have dog treats that look like cookies. They were the most generic dog treat you can imagine. I've never seen a human cookie look like one in a jar without a label. The jar said "Woof." I think the dumb part wasn't even the mistake of eating it, but the attempt to blame us for his own stupidity. Furniture store I worked at. Smaller items, anything smaller than a recliner, could be arranged to be shipped to the store for pickup, saving the customer the delivery fee, but the customer just has to bring a proper vehicle to pick it up. So a couple comes in saying they have an order to pick up. I ask if they have the receipt. We give a physical paper one and an email one, and they say yes, but don't get anything from a pocket. After about 10 seconds of silence I say, "Can I have it?" To which they reply, "I don't see how that's relevant, let me talk to the manager." Manager was right there since I was fairly new, and eventually got the receipt from them. They paid their remaining balance, and I got the item for them, a twin-sized bunk bed. These people had a tiny car, Civic or something, and it was packed up like they were going on a month-long road trip, and they complained about us not telling them the box would be that big. Packaging dimensions are listed online. They had to leave it with us. They never came back for their fully paid-for bed. We sent it back to the warehouse and sold it again. Edit. Forgot the best part. They left a 1-star review of the store, and acted like we were the villains for not giving them, who could have been randos off the street, until they gave us the receipt, their product, and for not helping them load it into their car. The review was taken down. We had a good laugh about it the next morning. Texas stores are weird. At night, some of them will lock the door on the right side, but it's something you wise up to after living here for a while. I was in a racetrack gas station convenience store at about 3 a.m. I was buying gas and I went inside to pay first. A guy comes in, looks around, opens the cooler and grabs a 12-pack of Bud Light, Bud Light, seriously man? And runs for the door. I'm guessing he wasn't from Texas, because he hit that right-hand door going full tilt boogie and I swear he bounced. Broke his nose, knocked himself out and laid there groaning when the deputies showed up to take his ass to jail. They weren't real happy with dealing with such a dipshit and they just kind of slid his ass out to the patrol car by his jacket collar. Had to hurt. Worked at a sporting goods store in the hunting and fishing section, but often had to assist the camping section where the propane grills were located. This guy bought a boxed-up grill, and I was told to go help this guy load up this grill out back. Now these grills are in boxes that are like 3 foot x 4 feet or so. I'm waiting here with this grill expecting someone to pull up in a truck or at least like a big SUV or something. Nah. This guy pulls up in a Nissan Altima. I look at the grill and back to this guy, just super perplexed. We try to hoist the grill in this guy's car, but it's obviously not going in. The guy starts getting pissed that I'm not God and can't bend the laws of physics to fit in his small car. Around this time I look at my watch and notice that it's time for me to clock out. As a part-time employee, they were very strict about our hours. I called my manager and let him deal with that one. There was also a lady who claimed to be a law enforcement agent who brought in this pistol that she claimed she bought at our store. She said that the pistol kept jamming and that we should do something about it. Turns out, she had bought the pistol from some friend who had bought it from our store, but not our store's location. The lady got pissed off and left while telling us that we should not sell firearms that we haven't tested. I was at a Walgreens near my workplace, and I'm glad I got into the line at the end of this particular event. Apparently one particular shopper didn't understand the concept of carts, or lines. She went down one aisle, picked up all the products she was able to carry, took them to the register and had the clerk start ringing them up. But she wasn't done shopping. She went down to the next aisle and picked up another armload of products to buy, and brought them up to the clerk for another set of ring-ups. Lather, rinse, repeat for, I counted at least 5 different rounds, holding up the entire line while she did her shopping in phases. And she went full on Karen if anybody tried to bypass her, including me with my 2 products. I was late back to work from my lunch break that day. This was me and I don't think I've seen anything more dumb. I was 4 and we went to the pet store. I wanted a frog and a fish. My dad said no. When he wasn't looking I pocketed a goldfish and a frog. When we got to the car I showed my dad. He made me return them. The frog made it, the fish did not. I was buying alcohol with a fake kid in high school for a friend and a buddy of his who I didn't really know. We were all at the checkout in the liquor store and his dumbass friend decided to try to steal a lighter from the counter while the clerk was ringing us up. The guy working the register was basically looking right at us, so he obviously saw and told the guy to put the lighter back. Instead of just putting it back, this kid decided to play dumb and act like he didn't take anything. The guy working the register yelled to the security guard who blocked the door and told the kid to turn his pockets inside out. Of course the lighter fell out onto the floor and 4 or 5 shooters that I didn't even realize he had pocketed while we were in the store. I was sweating bullets because I thought they were going to call the cops and I was going to get busted when they figured out I wasn't 21. Luckily the guy working the register was cool about it and just told us to get out of the store. I never understood why the kid didn't just put the lighter back considering how much other shit he had stolen that would have gone unnoticed. I always went into the store alone when using my fake after that. There's this cafe I go to every single day, pre-CV19 anyways, where every single worker knows me. I do their IT for them for free as well in exchange for free drinks. The owner is a nice guy but out of touch with tech. The manager is a fucking dickhead that uses the "it's because I'm gay" excuse to downplay anything said against him. He is homosexual. Frequently bitches about his lack of relationship. Tries to be buddy-buddy with people when convenient, but nobody buys it. Never works a closing shift, late close cafe. You get the picture. There was this one gal that worked there and had a spicy Instagram. Everyone knew about it but nobody cared. Her business. This manager clearly feels bothered that she gets loads of attention from guys because she's super pretty and friendly. He begins pulling her to the side to criticize really dumb shit like missing a tiny area of the counter when wiping, or being 2 minutes late on a rainy day, etc. Then on time she was sick, still forced to come into work and handle register. I'm sitting drinking my usual mess and doing some work on a CAD design. He pulls her aside and angrily and loudly tells her she needs to speak in a more polite tone right in front of me. She explains that she's sick, and her voice is a bit bad, which was true. He then tells her she's good for nothing and will never make it anywhere in life outside of Instagram. He said this a bit loudly. The old dude behind me stood up and asked if he was the manager and proceeded to rip him an absolute new one, loud enough for the entire cafe to hear. Upon hearing what the manager had said, almost every customer left immediately. I stayed behind because I couldn't stop laughing. Manager glares at me and tells me to get out, but the supervisor comes over and says I should stay. Manager asks why, and supervisor says, because we really don't want to tell owner what my billing rate for the IT work is. Manager asks what it is. I show him my rates for the work and my logged hours and he nearly shits himself when he owes me more than $3.5 thousand and the free tea barely covers $250 over the course of a year. I told him to be nicer to my favorite employees or I'd be letting the owner know about my bills, and the supervisor backed me up. Manager doesn't give me or anyone else shit when I'm around anymore, but he's still on ass pretty frequently.